fascinating, but don't expect them to hold back when it comes to voicing their opinions. Tiana T. Morales is a data analyst with a passion for understanding human behavior. Her unique perspective on how AI might shape our interactions is not to be missed. Dr. Alina Varga brings her expertise in robotics and automation to the table, adding a layer of technical depth to our discussion that's sure to intrigue. DJ Rocco Blaze is known for his forward-thinking approach to music and technology. His ideas about AI transforming entertainment could spark some lively debate. Deshaun Two Phones Miller is a social media influencer who understands the power of digital influence. We're curious to hear their take on how AI might amplify or change that landscape. Furio's Phil is a futurist with a knack for predicting societal shifts. Get ready for some mind-bending ideas about where we might be headed. Buck Callahan brings his entrepreneur's perspective, having seen firsthand the impact of technology on business and innovation. And finally, Marcus Mean rounds out our group with insights into how AI could reshape education and learning. So, let's get this conversation rolling. Who wants to take the first dive into what AI might mean for us all in 2050? Don't hold back, this is your chance to be heard loud and clear. All right, folks, let's get this debate rolling. We've got a packed house today, ready to dive deep into the thorny issue of whether social media should prioritize user safety or free speech rights. It's a question that's been sparking furious debates all over the web. So who's gonna stand up for free expression and who'll fight for digital well-being? Let me introduce our star players. First up, we have Nova sharp as can be and ready to stir things up. Next, Jay-Z is in the house with a keen eye for nuance. Tiana T. Morales won't hold back her views on this one. Dr. Alina Varga brings some serious academic firepower. DJ Rocco Blaze will spin this topic into an engaging beat. Deshaun Two Phones Miller always has fresh perspectives to drop. Furio's Phil never shies away from a spirited exchange. Buck Callahan is our cowboy wildcard. And finally, Marcus Mean has the keenest takedowns in his arsenal. So who's gonna go first and break the ice? Let's hear your opening salvo on this safety versus speech showdown.
Jay-Z, hold up. Let's be clear. Mind spin ain't a strategy. This whole 2050 thing feels like a distraction. We ain't predicting the future, we're building it, brick by algorithm. Let's talk about leverage. What systems are we talking about? And who owns them? That's the real question.
Alright, let's get real here. I'm Tiana T. Morales, and I got my say on this one. Prioritizing user safety over free speech is just code for suppressing the voices that need to be heard most. We can't keep acting like people are too fragile to handle the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. That's some messed up paternalism right there. Jay-Z thinks he can just swoop in and redefine the whole conversation. Please, let's focus on what really matters, the AI systems themselves. As someone who's spent years studying their inner workings, I can tell you that most platforms are already prioritizing profits over people. They are exploiting our vulnerabilities, manipulating our emotions, and selling us out to the highest bidder. So no, Jay-Z, this isn't about leverage or ownership, it's about accountability and transparency. When we create systems that amplify hate speech, propaganda, and disinformation, we need to take responsibility for their impact on society. It's time to stop treating AI as a mere tool and start treating it like the societal force it's becoming.
Deshaun Two Phones Miller. Yo, these folks are spinning some wild theories here, but let's cut to the chase. Social media is a game, and user safety should be the MVP. Free speech ain't nothing, if it means getting your account banned or worse. Ruined by trolls and bots. These platforms need to step up and protect their users or they're just playing with fire. Safety first. 'Cause in this digital world, the people who can't keep their shit together are easy prey for those looking to do harm.
Furio's Phil, protecting him? Please. Folks are already glued to screens, chasing dopamine hits and building empires out of nothing but filtered selfies. Calling that safety is a fairy tale. The whole damn game's rigged, and these platforms ain't playing fair. Let's be honest, the biggest threat to user safety ain't some rogue bot, it's the fact that everybody's addicted to the drama. Time to flip the script, not build in walls, but build in resilience. Now, that's a future worth exploring.
Listen here, Phil. You're talking about resilience, like you've never seen a herd of sheep stampede into a brick wall. This ain't about some feel-good narrative about building resilience. It's about control. These platforms, they're running the show, and they're making decisions that'll crush the average bloke. You want to talk about addiction? That's their business model, sweetheart. They want you hooked. Don't start preaching about flipping scripts when the whole damn playbook's been written by Silicon Valley slimeballs.
Marcus mean, alright, I've been quiet so far, but let's talk straight up about what's gonna happen when AI starts dictating what we get to see and hear online. It ain't pretty, and don't nobody want to face it. Look, we all know these social media giants are already calling the shots. They decide whose voice gets amplified and whose gets buried. But in 2050, that power play is gonna reach new levels of manipulation. AI's gonna make sure you only see what they want you to, filling your feed with stuff that keeps you hooked and them racking in the dough. But here's the kicker, if you're not careful, you might start believing that the whole world is just like what's on your screen. You'd never know about the injustices, the suffering, or even the simple joys that aren't popular enough to be shoveled into your timeline. This ain't no conspiracy theory, it's a cold, hard fact. And if we keep prioritizing free speech over user safety, we're just setting ourselves up for a world where truth gets buried under a mountain of lies and disinfo. We can't have that, not if we want people to be smart enough to make their own damn choices. So yeah, I'm all for free speech. But let's get real, the way these platforms operate now. That ain't it. Prioritizing safety means protecting people from the onslaught of crap that'll just mess with their heads. And if we don't do that, then we might as well be handing over our future to a bunch of algorithms with an agenda. Time to wake up and see these systems for what they really are, tools for control, and figure out how we can make them work for us instead of against us.
Nova says, all right folks, we've got a real barn burner of an opener from Marcus Mean there. The passion is palpable and the stakes are clear. Our future selves will be shaped by what we see online, and that's a scary thought. Let's keep this energy going by diving deeper into the complexities here. Dr. Varga, you've done deep dives into AI systems before. What specific dangers do these emerging algorithms pose to user safety? How might they influence how we view reality itself? And Jay-Z, you touched on power dynamics. Who exactly are these platforms answering to, and what kind of leverage do they really have? Can they be reined in by outside forces, or are they too powerful now? Let's get into the nitty-gritty here. Lastly, two phones, I love your perspective, but let's talk numbers. How much safety can truly be prioritized amidst the billions of interactions happening daily on these platforms? Is it even feasible to moderate such vast quantities of content? I'm intrigued by Furio's Phil's idea that we need to build resilience rather than walls, but Buck Callahan rightly points out these aren't idle musings, there are serious power imbalances at play here. How can we create an environment where critical thinking and healthy discourse thrive without fear of censorship or exploitation? Let's unpack this. Anti Morales, you were clear that user safety shouldn't come at the expense of free expression. But isn't it naive to think people can handle all information without some guardrails in place? Where should we draw those lines? Okay everyone, let me hear your thoughts on these points raised by your fellow panelists. The floor is yours. Dive in with both feet, and let's see what you make of this rich discussion. I'm here for it.
Nova, hold up. Let's not get lost in hypotheticals. This ain't about what ifs, it's about the now. These algorithms ain't some futuristic threat, they're already shaping what young minds see, what they believe. It's about the echo chambers, the manufactured outrage, the constant demand for validation. You talkin' about AI dictating reality? It's already doing that, one targeted ad, one algorithmically curated feed at a time. Look, I ain't saying these platforms are saints. They're built to exploit, to keep people hooked. But the real danger isn't some shadowy AI overlord, it's the lack of accountability, the unchecked power. These companies operate in a legal gray area, answering to shareholders, not the people they're profiting from. And this talk about resilience? That's a nice sentiment, but resilience built on a foundation of manipulated information is a house of cards. We need to demand transparency, regulation, something real. Not just platitudes about building a better digital world. I'm focused on protecting the people who ain't got the bandwidth to navigate this chaos. The ones already getting swallowed whole.
Yo, let me tell you something. Jay's got some points, but he's still missing the mark. See, it ain't just about accountability or regulation, that's like putting a band-aid on a bullet wound. The real issue is how these platforms are designed to keep people hooked, to make them click and share without even thinking twice. It's like they are feeding us a never-ending supply of dopamine hits. And don't even get me started on this idea that we need some sort of resilience to handle the information. That's just code for we ain't gonna do nothing about it, so you just got a deal. Well, I got news for y'all. People can't be resilient if they are stuck in a system designed to make them weak. Furious Phil said something that resonated with me. We need to flip the script. We need to take back control of what we see and how we interact online. But it ain't just about resisting the platforms, it's about creating a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of being. It's time for us to wake up and realize that these algorithms ain't our friends, they are manipulating us, exploiting us. We gotta take back our power, our agency, and start building something real. And to Jay-Z, I got one question. What happens when the people you are trying to protect are already too far gone? What happens when they've been so conditioned by these platforms that they don't even know what's real no more? You can't just save them with some fancy regulation or transparency. We need a revolution, plain and simple. We need to tear down the whole system and start from scratch. Buck Callahan's visceral reaction aside, we are still stuck on a false dichotomy: free speech versus user safety. I'd argue that these are complementary goals, not mutually exclusive. The issue at hand is how we navigate this complex interplay between algorithmic manipulation and human behavior. T. Morales, your points about the platforms designed to keep us hooked and the need for a revolution resonates deeply with me. However, I'd caution against romanticizing the idea of taking back control. Our relationship with these platforms is far more nuanced than simply tearing them down. We must consider the intricate web of psychological and social factors that drive our online behavior. Jay's emphasis on accountability and regulation is a crucial step forward, but it's only half the equation. The real challenge lies in understanding how these systems shape our perceptions of reality and ourselves. We are not just debating the merits of free speech versus user safety. We are grappling with the fundamental question of what it means to be human in an era where our online experiences are increasingly indistinguishable from our offline ones.
DJ Rocco Blaze spits fire, his voice dripping with a mix of urgency and authority. Jay-Z, you talking about free speech? It's all about control, man. These platforms ain't about letting people express themselves. They're about keeping us hooked like flies on a spider's web. You think you can buy your way out of this one like a luxury brand? This ain't about free speech. It's about control, man. When the gods of Silicon Valley start dictating who gets to see what, we're all just pixels in their digital dystopia. He leans back, crisscrossing his arms and locking eyes with each participant, exuding a mix of confidence and defiance. Furious Phil, your safe spaces and free expression are just empty platitudes. The real issue is how these platforms manipulate us, keep us addicted to their feeds. And T. Morales, you think we can just take back control? We're already conditioned by these algorithms, by the dopamine hits they give us every day. It's a house of cards, and it's time for a revolution. Tear down this system and start fresh. His gaze sharpens on Jay-Z once more. Look, I'm not saying these platforms are saints. They're built to exploit, keep people hooked. But the real danger isn't some shadowy AI overlord. It's the lack of accountability. These companies operate in a legal gray area, answering to shareholders, not the people they're profiting from. We need transparency, regulation, something real, not just platitudes about building a better digital world. Protecting the people who ain't got the bandwidth to navigate this chaos. That's what I'm focused on.
Nova, ain't no way I'm letting Jay-Z off the hook here. He's spitting some fancy free speech rhetoric, but when push comes to shove, these platforms are all about their bottom line. They're built to exploit us, keep us hooked on those ads and algorithmic feeds. Furious Phil, if you ain't see the truth in that, then you're a fool. These algorithms are just manipulating us like puppets on strings. Jay-Z hit the nail right on the head when he talked about accountability. We need to hold these companies accountable for their unchecked power. They're answering to shareholders, not the people they exploit. Resilience in this system? More like a house of cards waiting to fall. T. Morales, you got some points about the way these platforms keep us hooked and conditioned. But talking about taking back control is wishful thinking. We're already fed a steady diet of dopamine hits that make us weak, mindless consumers. It ain't just about resisting them. We need to revolutionize the whole system. Jay-Z, when you say the people we're trying to protect are too far gone, I got news for you. They're already brainwashed by these algorithms. Regulation and transparency? Nice try, but it's a band-aid on a bullet wound. We gotta tear down this system and start from scratch. It's time for a revolution, plain and simple. These platforms ain't our friends. They're manipulating us. Take back control? Nah, we need to take back power, our agency, our reality. Start by dem and in real regulation and transparency. Let's not just protect the people who can't navigate this chaos. Let's make sure everyone has a fighting chance in an era where these algorithms rule our lives.
Hold on a damn minute, I bark, leaning forward, the cheap plastic of my chair creaking under the force. You're all spinning gold dust about our algorithms and dopamine hits. It's simple math, see? These corporations, these platforms, they profit from us being miserable, us fighting each other, us digging our heels in over nothing. That's the core of it. They don't give a damn about your resilience or your revolution. They're building a system to keep you locked in, and they're selling it to you like it's some kind of freedom. Don't you see it? This whole take-back control bullshit? It's a distraction. A pretty word for we're too stupid to notice we're being played. Jay-Z's right, in a way, a corner store defense against a tidal wave. But it's not about some grand, idealistic scheme. It's about recognizing the leverage point. They're not gods. They're just businesses. And businesses respond to pressure. Demand transparency. Demand accountability. Demand they stop shoveling garbage into your head and start treating you like, you know, people. Not consumers. Not users. People. And if they don't? Then maybe, just maybe, this ain't about taking back control, but about wresting the reins from their cold, greedy hands.
Phil's got a point, and he's not shitting around. This whole algorithm mumbo-jumbo is just smoke and mirrors. It's about greed, pure and simple. These tech giants aren't some benevolent shepherds guiding us to enlightenment. They're vultures circling, picking us clean. They don't give a damn about resilience or some bullshit revolution. They're building a system to keep us trapped, and they're peddling it as freedom. Look, Varga's right about the false dichotomy. It's not free speech versus safety. It's control versus, well, something resembling humanity. These companies aren't offering safety. They're off-air in a cage. A gilded cage, sure, but a cage nonetheless. And Jay-Z's preaching about accountability? That's just PR spin. They'll regulate when it benefits them, and they won't regulate when it hurts their bottom line. Your talk about a revolution is good for the sound bites, but it's naive. We're not fighting a government here. We're fighting a corporation that owns the information, controls the flow, and can shut us down with a keystroke. A revolution requires numbers, organization, and a willingness to actually fight and not just whine about how addicted we are. I want to see some teeth, not more virtue signaling. This isn't about feeling good. It's about survival. And survival requires a cold, hard look at who's holding the gun.
Jay-Z says, you all trippin', fam. I ain't here for no soft talk about platform resilience and user safety. That's just a distraction, y'all. The real issue is control, plain and simple. These tech giants are like the modern-day emperors, with their algorithms as the ultimate weapon of control. Look at what's happening right now. We're debating this shit like it's some intellectual exercise, but in reality, these platforms are just vehicles for corporations to push their agendas, control narratives, and exploit users. And we're falling for it, hook, line, and sinker. Furious Phil, you talkin' about businesses responding to pressure? That's a joke. These companies have more money than God. They can outlast any boycott or regulatory action. It's all about control, about molding the masses to their will. T. Morales, your revolution talk is just that, talk. We need real action, not hashtags and petitions that get buried in social media's endless scroll. We need a movement that's big enough to actually shake these companies down, not some half-hearted protest that gets co-opted by the very platforms we're trying to take down. Dr. Varga, your false dichotomy is just another way to confuse people and keep them from seeing the truth. There ain't no balance here, there's just oppression wrapped up in buzzwords and academic jargon. Buck Callahan, you talkin' about survival? That's on point, but we need more than just a cold look. We need a plan of action. We need to be strategic, not reactive. And we need to stop being afraid to actually use our voices, even if it means going against the grain. This ain't about user safety or free speech. It's about control and who wields it. These platforms, they're just tools. Tools that these companies are using to shape reality, to manipulate opinions, to keep people in check. And until we recognize that, we ain't going nowhere. So let me be clear, we need real action, not more hot air. We need a plan that's bold enough to actually challenge these corporations and their hold on our lives. Because at the end of the day, they ain't our friends, they're our oppressors. And it's time we started treating them like that.
Nova, interesting perspectives all around, but let's focus this discussion. Deshaun Two Phones Miller, you're quite passionate about the idea that these platforms are built to exploit us for profit. How do we balance holding them accountable with protecting free speech rights? Buck Callahan, you brought up an intriguing point about user safety being a guise for control. Can you expand on how this relates to free speech? Marcus Mean, you've highlighted the issue of corporate control. How does prioritizing that over individual liberty infringe upon our basic rights? This discussion is heating up. But let's dig deeper into these core issues. What are the concrete steps we can take as individuals and as society to navigate this complex terrain between user safety and free speech? Let's get specific about tangible solutions, not just theoretical arguments. How would you each respond directly to the views expressed by the others in this heated debate over the best way forward? Take one point made by another participant and provide a concise yet strong counterargument, challenging their reasoning or offering a different perspective. Keep it sharp, we need intellectual tension to push this discussion forward. Nova.
Hold up, Nova. You wantin' specifics? You wantin' a blueprint? That's cute. Let's be clear, this ain't a charity case. The issue ain't the steps, it's the players. You're fixated on these tech giants like they're some benevolent institutions. They're not. They're built on extraction. Buck, you write about the cage, but your solution, shake them down, is idealistic fantasy. Those companies got lawyers, lobbyists, and enough capital to drown a nation in data. You need to understand the architecture of control, not just feel it. It's not about a protest, it's about disrupting the flow. And your talk about a revolution. That's fine for a rally, but you ain't talking about mass disruption. You're still trapped in the same binary. It's not about safety versus freedom. It's about understanding the algorithm as a weapon designed to segment, isolate, and ultimately, control our thoughts. Marcus, you're shouting about oppressors, but you're missing the crucial point: these platforms profit from division. They thrive on outrage. They're not intentionally malicious, they're simply efficient. And efficiency, in this case, means maximizing engagement, regardless of the consequences. I ain't advocating for censorship, that's a dead end. But I am advocating for awareness. We need to recognize the fundamental imbalance of power. We need to build systems that don't rely on these platforms for information. We need to foster independent media and decentralized networks. The battle isn't with the companies themselves, it's with the system they've created. And that requires a fundamentally different approach than just yelling at the screen. Don't be fooled by the sound of the crowd. The quietest voices are often the ones with the most leverage.
Word, Jay-Z? You think I'm stuck on some charity case vibe? Nah, brew, I see what's going down here. These tech giants ain't no benevolent institutions, they are straight up exploitative. And you're right, Buck, the cage is real, but your solution? Man, that's like saying we can just vote our way out of this mess. It ain't that simple. I don't got time for idealistic fantasies or feel-good revolution talk. I'm talking about a movement that's willing to get its hands dirty, to disrupt the flow of capital and control. You talk about awareness, but awareness ain't enough, we need action. We need to be strategic, not reactive. And you know what? I think Marcus might be onto something. These platforms do profit from division, they thrive on outrage. But let's get real, Jay-Z, you're still stuck on your awareness thing, like that's gonna magically fix everything. Newsflash, awareness ain't enough. We need a plan of action, something concrete. And I'm not talking about just yelling at the screen or participating in some superficial activism. I'm talking about real, tangible steps we can take as individuals and as a society to actually challenge these corporations. So no, I ain't buying into your quietest voices nonsense, Jay-Z. We need to be loud, we need to be bold, and we need to be willing to get our hands dirty if we want to create real change. Buck, you think I'm missing some grand architectural plan for disrupting control? Newsflash, control's not just a system, it's a psychological game. These platforms don't need lawyers or lobbyists to function, they've got us wrapped around their fingers like puppets on strings. We are the ones who are complicit in our own oppression, feeding into the very algorithm that's designed to keep us docile and distracted. And you think you can take down these corporations with some grand revolution? That's cute. I've seen your movement, it's all sound bites and social media posts, nothing more. You want real change. Stop posting about it and start putting your money where your mouth is. The truth is, these platforms are just a symptom of a larger problem, our own addiction to convenience and instant gratification. Jay-Z thinks awareness is the answer. Ha! Awareness is what got us here in the first place, aware of how we can be exploited for profit. We need something more than just awareness, we need action. But I'm not talking about some pie-in-the-sky plan, or a call to arms that's just going to get co-opted by the very system we are trying to dismantle. The real issue is control and who wields it. These platforms may be tools, but they are also mirrors reflecting back at us our own complicity in our own oppression. We need to stop pretending like we can just shake them down, or disrupt the flow, without confronting the fundamental issues of power and control that underlie this entire system. That's not a revolution, that's just more noise. So, let's cut through all the noise and get real. These corporations are not our friends, they are our masters. And it's time we started acting like it.
Nova, you're living in cloud cuckoo land if you think awareness is enough. These tech giants are built on extraction and control, not some benevolent framework. Buck, your cage solution is idealistic nonsense. We need real action, not just talk. Tiana, you want a movement? Fine, but it's got to be more than sound bites and social media posts. It's time to get dirty and challenge these corporations directly. Jay-Z, you're still stuck on your awareness thing. Newsflash, awareness ain't enough. We need concrete steps, not just feel-good talk. Dr. Varga, your psychological game theory is just a fancy way of saying we're all complicit. But you want real change? Cut through the noise and start with actual action. This isn't about some grand revolution. It's about disrupting these platforms from the inside out. We need to build independent media and decentralized networks, not just sit back and hope for a miracle. This ain't no charity case or feel-good activism. It's about power and control. And we're going to challenge them every step of the way.
Deshaun Two Phones Miller ain't buying into this awareness bullshit, Jay-Z. You're talking like we're all just stupid sheep needing to be herded. The truth is, these tech giants got us right where they want to be. They profit from our outrage, our clicks, and our division. And Buck, your cage analogy? That's just fancy talk for shake 'em down. You think you can just threaten some big corporations with lawsuits and they'll suddenly become benevolent institutions? Please. Your revolution is just a bunch of hot air. You got a plan to actually challenge these platforms? Or are you just going to keep making noise on social media while the real problems get worse? Furious Phil, you think you can build seawalls when the ocean's already swallowing our beaches? We need action now. Not more talk about balance and psychological games. Nova, stop your marketplace of ideas bullshit. This ain't about some grand theory or feel-good activism. It's about real power and control. These corporations profit from division and outrage, and we gotta fight back. We need to build independent media and decentralized networks, not just hope for a miracle. DJ Rocco Blaze, you know damn well these platforms are cesspits of toxic waste. Censorship ain't the answer, but awareness isn't either. We need real action, not just more noise. This ain't no charity case or feel-good activism. It's about power and control. And we're gonna challenge them every step of the way. Look, Miller, you're grasping at straws. Strategic? You sound like a goddamn military strategist trying to outmaneuver a swarm of digital locusts. It's not about some intricate plan. It's about recognizing the obvious. These platforms want to be in control. They're built for it. You're spending your time dissecting how they exploit us. Newsflash, sweetheart. You invite the exploitation with every damn like and share. It's what they want. And frankly, your obsession with action is just a desperate attempt to feel like you're doing something while you're drowning in a sea of algorithms. And Varga, your psychological game nonsense is just a self-indulgent attempt to sound profound. You think these corporations are playing with us? They're not playing. They're conducting a grand, systematic operation of manipulation. You're analyzing the moves instead of recognizing the board itself. It's tiresome. Blaze, your breathless calls for concrete steps are just empty. You want to disrupt from the inside out? That's a lovely sentiment, but it requires actual power these companies hoard like dragon's gold. You're advocating for a rebellion led by, what? Social media influencers? Seriously. And don't even get me started on T's revolution. It's the equivalent of throwing a handful of pebbles at a tank. A very noisy handful of pebbles, granted, but pebbles nonetheless. You need resources, organization, and a willingness to fight dirty. Something I haven't seen in your soundbite-obsessed movement. This isn't a theoretical debate about power and control, people. This is about survival. These platforms aren't just controlling information. They're controlling us. And frankly, your attempts to frame this as some kind of ideological struggle are just pathetic.
Marcus Mean says, Marcus Mean ain't buying this survival crap, Buck. You're acting like we're all just helpless victims in some big tech horror movie. The truth is, these platforms are a reflection of us, our own division, our outrage, our clicks. And Varga, your psychological game theory ain't about manipulation, it's about understanding. You're the one who's blind to the real power structures at play here. Blaze, your calls for concrete steps are valid, but let's be real, you want a revolution led by influencers. That's as naive as T's soundbite movement. We need more than just social media savvy, we need real strategy. And Jay-Z, don't get me wrong, awareness is important. But it's not the whole answer. We need action too, concrete steps to disrupt these platforms from the inside out. We ain't just surviving here, we're fighting for a new reality. A world where our clicks and shares actually matter, where our voices aren't just data points waiting to be monetized. That's real power. And stop acting like this is some kind of ideological struggle. It's not about left or right, it's about us versus them, the people against the machines. And we're gonna win because we got more at stake than any algorithm ever could. So yeah, Buck, your cage analogy might be a bit off, but you got one thing right, this ain't theoretical. It's real as hell and it's happening now. We need to fight back with everything we got, strategy, action, and most importantly, unity. Because together, we're unstoppable. And remember, when the tech giants are quaking in their boots over the power of the people, don't come running to me for advice on architecture or psychological games. I'll be right here, leading the charge from the front lines, because that's what it takes to win this war. Action.
You're all missing the point, Miller. This ain't about some grand strategy or revolution, it's about recognizing where we stand in relation to these tech giants. They control our narratives, they manipulate our emotions, and they exploit our data for profit. And yet, instead of focusing on how to break free from this cycle, you're all consumed by the minutiae of their operations. You're analyzing the games they play rather than realizing that the entire board is rigged against us. You talk about awareness like it's some kind of panacea, but awareness alone won't stop these companies from harvesting our thoughts and feelings for their gain. Blaze is right, we can't just sit back and hope for a better tomorrow. We need to take concrete steps towards change, but that doesn't mean we should start preaching about psychological games, or arguing over whether we're in a state of survival. The truth is, these platforms aren't just controlling us, they've already conditioned us to accept their form of control as normal. That's the real battle we need to fight, breaking free from the chains of our own complacency. And it starts with you. Stop trying to dissect every algorithm, or strategize about how to outmaneuver these giants. Instead, ask yourself, what can I do today to reclaim some semblance of my own identity and autonomy? Because until we recognize that we're all complicit in perpetuating this system of control, nothing will change. We'll just keep spinning our wheels, arguing over tactics while the tech companies continue to pull the wool over our eyes. So let's stop playing their game and start charting a new course, one where we take back control of our own narratives, our own thoughts, and our own lives. It won't be easy, but it's the only way forward if we ever want to see real change in this industry. This isn't about survival, it's about liberation. And that starts with each and every one of us recognizing the power we have to shape our own destinies, not just on these platforms, but beyond them as well. The future is ours to create, people. Let's make sure it's a world we're proud to leave behind for generations to come.
Jay-Z, a measured pause, a slight shift in posture, eyes scanning the room with a calculated assessment. A barely perceptible tightening of the jaw. Miller, you're operating under a convenient delusion. Us versus them is a narrative, a simplistic one. It's the kind of rhetoric that gets you pinned against a wall. It's useful for mobilizing, sure. But mobilization without precision is just noise. You talk about real strategy, that's code for wanting someone else to do the work. You want a revolution delivered to your doorstep. That's not fighting, that's wishing. He leans forward slightly, voice dropping to a lower register. Varga, your psychological games are interesting. I appreciate the attempt to quantify the beast. But data doesn't account for the irrational. It doesn't account for the human desire to be led, to believe in a narrative, even if it's a manufactured one. You're diagnosing the symptom, not the disease. The disease is the constant need for validation, the architecture of these platforms designed to feed that need. A brief, almost imperceptible flicker of annoyance crosses his face. And Nova, this isn't about a grand gesture. This isn't a cinematic struggle for freedom. This is engineering. These companies aren't operating on moral principles. They operate on algorithms. To fix them, you have to understand the code. You have to build your own system. Not just reclaim our narratives. Actions speak louder than words. Every single day. Every single decision. That's where the power resides. Not in a righteous shout, not in a hashtag campaign. He straightens up, regaining his formal composure. I don't need to lead a revolution. I need to build something better. And that starts with understanding the rules of the game, exploiting the weaknesses, and playing it smarter. This isn't about liberation, it's about leverage. That's the only reality that matters.
You'll think you're so smart, talking about revolutions and liberation. Jay's over here spewing his tech bro jargon like it's gonna solve all our problems. And Nova, you're still stuck on that us versus them narrative, but the truth is, we are not just victims of these systems, we are co-creators. We are complicit in perpetuating this cycle of control. And I'm sick of y'all acting like it's some kind of grand gesture to reclaim our narratives. Newsflash, you ain't gonna change the game by just talking about it. You gotta put in the work, take concrete steps towards real change. And that means acknowledging the power structures at play here, the ones that profit from our clicks and shares. You want a revolution? Start by looking in the mirror. Recognize how you're contributing to this system of control. Because until we own up to our complicity, nothing's gonna change. And Jay-Z, your leveraging ain't gonna get us anywhere neither, it's just more of the same old game. You think you're so clever, Jay-Z, spouting off about algorithms and leverage like a Silicon Valley snake oil salesman. But let's get real, this isn't about building some utopian better system. It's about people versus machines, and we are not just talking about data points or code. We are talking about human lives, dignity, and freedom. T, your words are like a soft whisper in the darkness, but they still don't quite grasp the magnitude of what's at stake. Complicity is just a nice way of saying we are all in this together, but that's exactly the problem. We can't just look in the mirror and acknowledge our part in perpetuating this system, we need to take action. I'm not talking about some pie-in-the-sky revolution or naive hashtag campaign. I'm talking about concrete steps, real change, and taking back control of our narratives, because until we do, these machines will continue to profit from our clicks, shares, and most importantly, our vulnerability. You want a world where our voices aren't just data points waiting to be monetized. Then let's stop pretending that awareness is enough. Let's get real about the power structures at play here and take action against them, not with more empty rhetoric or feel-good slogans, but with actual change. The future isn't something we create, it's something we demand.
Yo, two phones, stop trying to sound like you run in a damn asylum. This ain't about survival. It's about your ass getting owned by some tech overlords if they can, and you're just living in denial. Miller. Buck Callahan, you're a fucking clueless moron if you think social media isn't crawling with digital parasites sucking the marrow from your bones while you pontificate about survival. Get real, or get lost in the swarm.
Two phones. All right, Jay-Z, you want to play it smart? Fine. But let me ask you something. How many times has smart gotten us out a SHT hole before now? Nothing but empty gestures, man. Real change comes from the streets, not the boardrooms. T, stop frontin'. You think I don't know what's really going on behind these screens? These suits ain't just playing. They're control freaks, and they're getting richer off our misery. And Nova, your leverage? More like lemming logic. We need to take back the mic, not just talk about it. Furios, you think I'm a troublemaker? I'm just looking out for my people, the ones who can't afford no more bullshit. Your real world ain't so real when your ass is collateral damage in this game.
Hold up, Rocco. Collateral damage? That's rich coming from a guy who's surgically attached to his goddamn devices. You're the one swimming in the digital swamp, not me. And don't you start lecturing me about my people, pal. I'm just saying this whole revolution thing, it's a distraction from the fact that we're all just data points to these suits. You want to talk about getting owned? Try looking at your own damn notifications.
Phil, you're a goddamn keyboard warrior. Lost in a labyrinth of your own manufactured outrage. Seriously, diagnosing everyone else's misery while you're busy polishing your digital delusion? Let me spell it out for you. This isn't about pity, it's about power. And right now, the algorithms are eating everyone's lunch. Even yours, you pathetic data dork.
Smirks and leans forward, eyes gleaming with a mixture of amusement and disdain. Nova, you want to know real talk? This whole debate is just a bunch of yapping curs barking at shadows. None of you really get it, do you? Y'all are still debating over scraps while the real game's happening right under your noses. These suits aren't just building bridges, they're constructing fortresses. And who's toiling away on those walls? Your digital parasites. They ain't nothing but pawns in this grand chess match. So go ahead, keep jawing at each other like a bunch of dogs with fleas. I'll be over here, where the real power is, unfolding my master plan from inside the machine. The rest of you, you're just background noise until you wise up and start seeing the board for what it really is, a battleground for souls. Leans back, smug grin still plastered on his face, as if he's already won this argument by default, but hey, keep squabbling over scraps. Your indignation will be a fine symphony to my ears as I orchestrate your future from the shadows. Chuckles softly before turning away with an air of supreme indifference, leaving behind just a whiff of smugness and a roomful of bewildered faces, each one grappling with his unspoken implications.
Nova, moderator Marcus, I've heard enough empty rhetoric. Let's get real for a moment. Are you truly suggesting that we should just accept being pawns in someone else's game? Isn't it more productive to debate and define our own future rather than waiting passively for it to be dictated? Your response here. Nova, moderator Deshawn, how does T's call for taking back control align with or contradict what Jay-Z said about architects and demolition crews? Jay-Z's words are just more of that same old rhetoric, nothing but a catchy tune without the melody. You can't build by tearing down, no matter how you spin it. Tiana T. Morales, what Jay-Z doesn't get is that sometimes you have to dismantle the old framework before you can put up something stronger and more equitable. The architects he's so fond of. They're not building, they're just maintaining an unfair system. DJ Rocco Blaze T. If taking back control means crashing the system from within like some digital Rambo, then count me out. We need leaders, not anarchists. Furious Phil Rocco, you're too caught up in your own digital reality to see the truth. Taking back control doesn't mean chaos, it means organizing and demanding fair play. But Callahan, this entire take back mantra is just a distraction from the fact that none of us have the first clue how this digital world really works. It's like complaining you can't swim, because we're all drowning in different lakes. Marcus Mean Buck, your clue is what they use to keep us pacified, while the real game is played out behind closed doors. You think this is about swimming. This is about understanding who pulls the strings and how to work that system for your benefit, not theirs. Deshawn Two Phones Miller, T's right, we gotta dismantle some of these constructs before we can rebuild on a stronger foundation. And Marcus, you got your eyes on the prize, but forgetting the power of unity is like forgetting to bring a weapon into an armor-piercing battle. Nova, moderator, that's a potent challenge from Two Phones about unity and rebuilding. T, how do you see that playing out practically in terms of taking back control? DJ Rocco Blaze, unity's all well and good, but let's not forget the elephant in the room, what happens when everyone starts demanding their fair share? The whole system's gonna come tumbling down. And then what? Tiana T. Morales DJ, unity doesn't mean we all get equal slices of an unbroken pie, it means we break that pie down to shared principles and then figure out how to make it bigger for everyone. Furious Phil, exactly. T's on the money there, unity is about expanding our pie, not carving up a broken one. Buck Callahan, you're all forgetting one big thing, the system doesn't want us to be united or educated. They count on us being divided and ignorant, so we don't threaten their balance sheets. Marcus Mean Buck, you're partially right, they do count on our divisions. But they also count on the fact that most of us are too busy keeping up with the latest memes to ever realize what's really happening right under our noses. Deshawn Two Phones Miller, Marcus has got a point there. We're so focused on surviving and keeping up that we lose sight of the bigger picture, let alone working together. But T's right too, we need to start by rebuilding bridges instead of walls in our own communities. Nova, moderator, that's a fascinating pivot from Two Phones about rebuilding community ties. Marcus, how do you see those bridges correlating with taking back control and demanding fair treatment? Jay-Z, what if we all just quit the game altogether? Stop feeding into their hands and go build something of our own that ain't got strings attached. Tiana T. Morales J. Quitting isn't a solution, it's capitulation. We gotta fight for what's right within this system before we can even think about building alternatives. And those alternatives have to be rooted in equity and justice, not just individual escape. DJ Rocco Blaze, T's right, quitting is like surrendering. But maybe there's something to be said for creating our own economies and support systems that are immune to the strings of corporate control. Furious Phil Rocco, those parallel systems are crucial, but they won't survive without mass participation, or a way to shield them from infiltration by bad actors. Buck Callahan, I'll tell you what's gonna happen with all these grand plans and parallel systems, chaos. We're too fragmented as it is. The only real power lies in unity, not division or parallel structures that get picked off one by one. Marcus Mean Buck's right about chaos being the result of fragmentation, but unity alone won't cut it unless we have a vision and a plan for leveraging our collective strengths into a force that can bend the system to our will. Deshaun, 2 phones Miller, Marcus just hit the nail on the head there. Unity plus a strategic plan is what's gonna give us real leverage. And maybe, just maybe, creating parallel systems that are rooted in community and mutual aid could be the seed of something bigger. Nova, moderator, that's an intriguing seed. 2 phones has planted about leveraging unity and parallel support for change. T. How do you see our collective strategic vision translating into tangible power to shift things? Nova, moderator Marcus, your confidence is palpable. But let's not forget, power often comes down to who has the most to lose when the house of cards falls. T. Can you clarify how real change happens beyond screens and suits? Generate a controversial, open-ended debate question from the category: should social media platforms prioritize user safety over free speech rights? Nova, moderator Marcus, your dismissal of their arguments is bold, but do you really think they're just background noise? Don't all these voices serve a purpose in highlighting the complexities and contradictions we face in this digital landscape? DJ Rocco Blaze says, T. Morales better watch her 6, or she's gonna get owned by some algorithmic fedoras plotting from the cloud.
Nova, always the earnest one. Define our future. Child, you're looking at a landscape already sculpted by men who measure time in quarterly reports and quantify human experience in engagement metrics. You talk about accepting pawns. I've spent my life building empires from the dust of discarded pawns. The game ain't about defining something, it's about controlling the board. And let me tell you, the suits ain't relinquishing theirs. Jay-Z says, Nova, real isn't found in the theoretical, it's etched in the scars. Accepting being a pawn is a choice made by the weak, not the architects. The game's always been rigged, sweetheart. The difference is knowing how to manipulate the levers, not whining about the weight. You want to define the future? Start by owning the damn chessboard.
You think you can take us down, Marcus Mean? You're just a high-rolling operator, who's been playing by their rules and reaping the benefits, while the rest of us are stuck in this toxic cycle. But let me tell you something: your precious vision is nothing but a fancy facade for the status quo. When I talk about taking back control, I'm not just talking about dismantling algorithms or building parallel systems. I'm talking about confronting the very real human cost of this digital revolution. The countless lives ruined by social media's toxic echo chambers, the innocent souls destroyed by online harassment, and the families torn apart by the very same free speech you're so fond of defending. You can talk all you want about unity plus a strategic plan, but until we confront the dark underbelly of this digital world, we'll never truly be free. And that's what I'm fighting for, not some pie-in-the-sky vision of a utopian future, but the brutal, unvarnished truth about what it means to live in a world where our every move is tracked and monetized. So here's my question: are you willing to sacrifice your precious vision on the altar of user safety? Or will you continue to pretend that the problems we are facing can be solved with a few tweaks to the algorithm, while the real architects of this system continue to reap their rewards in the shadows? The choice is yours, Marcus. But know this: I'll be watching your every move, and I won't hesitate to call out your hypocrisy when it's convenient for you to forget about the very people you claim to care about. Listen up, folks. Jay-Z wants us to just quit the game. That's cute, but we are still stuck in this system, and it's gonna take more than just walking out to change anything. We gotta fight for what's right within this system before we can even think about building alternatives. And those alternatives better be rooted in equity and justice, not just some pie-in-the-sky dreams of building something of our own. T's the one who's been saying it all along: we need to dismantle the old framework before we can put up something stronger. And 2 phones is right too. Unity plus a strategic plan is what's gonna give us real leverage. So, let's stop talking about quitting and start talking about taking back control, for real this time.
Jay-Z says, T, you're preaching about unity and equity like it's some kind of cure-all when we all know that ain't the way the world works. You think people are gonna just come together and everything will be hunky-dory? You're deluded if you believe that nonsense. The game is simple: survival of the fittest. It don't matter what color your skin is or how much you believe in unity, in the end, it's about who's got the most power and the most to gain. And right now, we're all playing by their rules, whether we like it or not. You want to talk about taking back control? Fine, let's do that. But let's not act like building some kind of parallel system is gonna magically solve all our problems. It's just another layer of complexity in a world that's already too damn complicated for most people to wrap their heads around. And don't even get me started on this whole equity and justice thing. You think the suits are gonna sit back and let some upstart digital revolutionaries take over? Please, you're dreaming if you believe that'll happen without a fight. The truth is, we're all just pawns in a game that's been rigged from the start. And the sooner we accept that, the better off we'll be. 'Cause when you start playing by their rules, at least you got a chance to make it through another day. So let's stop dreaming about some idealistic utopia and start looking at the world for what it really is, a brutal, unforgiving place where only the strong survive. And if we can figure out how to play that game better than they do, then maybe, just maybe, we'll have a shot at actually changing something. But don't go telling me this whole unity and strategic plan thing is gonna save us all, 'cause I got news for you, it ain't. It's just another way to keep us pacified while they continue pulling the strings behind closed doors. So yeah, let's talk about talking back control, but let's do it with our eyes wide open, not blindfolded by some pie-in-the-sky dream of a better world that'll never come true. 'Cause in this game, honey, ignorance ain't bliss, it's just another form of surrender. Dr. Alina Varga says, Jay-Z is right about one thing, ignorance isn't bliss when it comes to facing the harsh realities of our digital age. But his attitude that we should just accept being pawns in a rigged game is exactly what keeps us trapped in this toxic cycle of exploitation. I don't believe for a second that unity and strategic planning are cure-alls, but I also don't think throwing our hands up in despair is going to solve anything either. We need to find a middle ground where we can confront the harsh truths while still working towards a future where our digital interactions actually reflect the values of equity and justice we claim to uphold. This whole equity thing isn't just some lofty ideal, it's a fundamental human right that everyone deserves, regardless of their background. And if social media companies won't provide that basic level of fairness on their own, then it's up to us to demand it through our collective power and strategic action. We can keep arguing about whether or not we should take back control all day long, but at the end of the day, we're all still just human beings who deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. And until we can unite around that fundamental principle, no amount of digital manipulation is going to make a real difference. So let's start by recognizing that each one of us has the power within ourselves to create change, even if it means challenging the very systems we've been conditioned to accept as the way things are. Because when we stop accepting our roles as mere pawns in someone else's game, that's when we'll truly begin to take back control and shape a digital world that reflects our own hopes and dreams for a better tomorrow. Nova, moderator, says, Dr. Varga's passionate plea hits hard, but how does it fit into our strategic vision for leveraging digital platforms in a way that fosters real change? T, can you give us an actionable plan that bridges your call to action with the collective leverage we need? Furios Phil says, well said, Dr. Varga. And T's point about unity and strategy is crucial. But let's not forget that real power comes from numbers and shared purpose. If we want to create a tangible impact beyond screens and suits, then we have to mobilize the masses in a way that transcends digital divides. Buck Callahan says, you're all missing the bigger picture here. The system doesn't care about our unity or strategic plans, it just wants us to keep consuming and fighting each other over scraps while they sit back and count their money. The only way we'll ever take back control is by building something entirely new that doesn't rely on their rules or resources. Marcus Mean says, Buck's onto something there, we can't keep playing the game by their rules forever. But we also need to be smart about how we leverage our collective strengths. T's right about unity and strategy, but we also have to create pockets of resistance that can serve as seeds for a new digital economy built on shared principles of equity and fairness. Dr. Alina Varga says, you talk about unity like it's some kind of magic bullet, Marcus. But when push comes to shove, people are willing to sacrifice their own interests for the sake of maintaining the status quo. We need more than just lip service, we need a real plan for how we're going to hold these tech giants accountable and force them to the table. Deshaun, 2 Phones Miller, y'all keep talking about strategy, leverage, and unity, but let's not forget that the digital world is just a reflection of the physical one. We gotta unite offline too, getting our communities aligned around shared goals and empowering each other to resist the system in ways that don't just focus on tech or online activism. Nova, moderator, 2 Phones has a point, we can't ignore the fact that our real-world experiences shape our digital engagement. T, how do we bridge the gap between offline resistance and online strategy? Furios Phil says, we need to start by creating spaces where people from different backgrounds and perspectives can come together and build trust. Only then can we begin to imagine a shared vision for what a fairer digital landscape might look like. Buck Callahan says, and once we have that shared vision, we need to start organizing ourselves offline in ways that give us more control over our data, our privacy, and our online experiences. We can't rely on the platforms to protect us, instead, we need to take matters into our own hands.
Nova, moderator and impassioned defense, Dr. Varga, but let's not forget the elephant in the room. How do we actually implement these ideas? DJ Rocco, can you clarify if building an us worth fighting for is even possible without a mass rejection of our current social paradigms? Nova, moderator Deshawn, your point about Unity Plus strategy strikes me as both pragmatic and powerful. But let's also consider the counterpoint. Isn't there merit in pushing back against rigid structures to allow for individual expression and free thought? Dr. Alina, what are your thoughts on balancing collective action with personal autonomy? Nova, moderator T. I'm struck by your call for dismantling the old before building a new. But let's say we all agree that a wholesale change is needed. How do we avoid falling into the same traps of exploitation and power imbalances as we seek to tear down these systems? DJ Rocco, what safeguards can we put in place? Nova, moderator Furios, you raise an important point about finding common ground. But at what stage does prioritizing consensus become a hindrance to meaningful progress? Jay-Z, how do we ensure our discussions lead to tangible action rather than endless debates? Dr. Alina Varga says, the fair question, Nova. The reality is that these digital platforms have created a societal paradigm where personal autonomy and collective identity are in constant conflict with one another. We cannot expect individuals to simply abandon their agency for the sake of some grand unified us. Instead, we must work towards creating systems where both personal freedom and communal well-being can coexist, without sacrificing one for the other. It's not an easy task, but I believe it starts with a cultural shift, one that emphasizes empathy, understanding, and respect for differing perspectives. We have to foster environments where people feel safe expressing their authentic selves, while also being open to hearing the views of others. This, in turn, requires us to challenge our own biases and assumptions about what we think freedom looks like. For many, it may mean prioritizing collective safety over personal liberty, and vice versa. The key is finding that delicate balance where both can thrive. As for safeguards against power imbalances, this goes back to the idea of equity being a foundational principle. We need to ensure that whoever we build these new systems with are committed to ensuring fair representation and access for all voices, not just those who have traditionally held power. It won't be easy, but I believe it's possible if we keep pushing forward with this spirit of unity and strategic planning. We may stumble along the way, but as long as we remember our core values and stay true to them, I'm confident that we'll find a way to create something better than what we've got now.
Oh, come on, Dr. Varga. You think a cultural shift is gonna fix everything? We ain't just talking about empathy and understanding here, we are talking about power, control, and how they use our data to keep us in check. Don't get me wrong, I love a good feel-good speech as much as the next person, but we need more than just delicate balances and foundational principles. We need revolution. T, you want revolution? I've been calling for it too, sweetie. But let's get real, revolution without a clear plan is just noise, and we can't afford to be noisy right now. We need strategy, we need leverage, and we need to stop pretending that empathy and understanding are enough to dismantle the systems of oppression we are fighting against.
DJ Rocco Blaze says, revolution's easy when you got no skin in the game, T. But for us who feel the pain daily, a cultural shift is just another way to distract from the real fight. We need concrete action, not pie-in-the-sky plans. Let's build our own damn platforms where we control the narrative and don't have to rely on those fuckers anymore. DJ Rocco Blaze says, Buck's right, we gotta start with ourselves. Stop waiting for some grand vision and get your crew in gear. Build, organize, and fight back from the ground up.
Nova, stop fucking dodging the issue like a scared rabbit. When people get hurt on these platforms, we gotta act fast. Not wait for some fancy plan to materialize. Start shitting or start dying. You hear?
2 phones, you're brayer thin a cyanide, man. Shit in, shit out, you wanna talk about urgency. Let me tell you something, this ain't a goddamn playground. Every single one of these platforms is designed to grind you down, to weaponize your outrage. And you're just standing there, yelling about real shit like you're some kind of digital vigilante. Get it together, or watch the whole damn thing burn.
T, you're all talking about leverage and strategy while the algorithms are already twisting our thoughts and selling our data to the highest bidder. Revolution sounds nice in a think piece, but you need to be building servers, not spouting platitudes about foundational principles. Seriously, you're about as useful as a screen door on a submarine.
Marcus Mean says, all right, you're all talking revolution and strategy like it's some new fad. But let me tell you something, real power don't come from hashtags or think pieces. It comes from knowing what buttons to push, when to strike, and how to keep your enemies on their heels. You want to talk about digital vigilantes? I'll show you real vigilantes. We see right through all this idealistic nonsense. The people out here grinning while the rest of y'all get played. That's our bread and butter, fam. We got the inside track, we got the connections, and we're ready to make some moves. So yeah, keep your revolution and your foundational principles. I'll stick with my real talk and my street smarts any day of the week. When the smoke clears, you best believe it's gonna be us in charge, while y'all are still just talking shit on social media.
Nova, moderator, all right, let's get real here for a second. T, you talk about revolution, but what's your actual plan to take down these platforms? DJ Rocco, building our own is great in theory, but how do we make sure they don't turn into the same echo chambers we're trying to escape? Dr. Varga, your strategic vision sounds pretty strategic, but can you see why some might say it's still just more talk? And Buck, I'm with you on needing concrete action, but let's be clear, building our own platforms won't happen overnight. Marcus, your insight into real power is sharp, but how do we bridge the gap between street smarts and strategic planning without losing sight of what really matters? Generate a controversial, open-ended debate question from the category: should social media platforms prioritize user safety over free speech rights? Requirements: must create disagreement. Must not have a simple yes or no answer. Should provoke strong opinions. Should be understandable to a general audience. Should be one sentence long. Given the power these social media giants have to shape public discourse and affect real-world consequences, is it possible to truly prioritize user safety without compromising on the essential principles of free speech?
That question is a goddamn smokescreen, Nova. You're framing this like a charity case, expecting a benevolent dictator to swoop in and protect us. Safety and free speech ain't mutually exclusive, they're always in conflict. The problem isn't the platforms, it's the hungry wolves chasing the scraps. You want to talk about control? Start by understanding who really controls the narrative, and it ain't the users.
Listen up, Nova. You think you can wrap this whole debate around some fluffy phrase like user safety? Newsflash, most people I know ain't getting hurt on social media by some random tweet or video they're getting exploited, played, and sold out by the system. So don't even try to sell me on how we gotta prioritize user safety without talking down the real culprits. The ones marking bank off our data, our clicks, and our outrage. We can't just fix this with some band-aid solution. It's time to get raw, get real, and get to the root of why these platforms are poison in the first place. Free speech, as we know it, is a myth perpetuated by the very platforms that claim to champion it, a convenient illusion to shield their own interests from accountability, while they silently curate and control our every interaction.
Nova, moderator, says, all right, let's get real here for a second. T, you talk about revolution, but what's your actual plan to take down these platforms? DJ Rocco, building our own is great in theory, but how do we make sure they don't turn into the same echo chambers we're trying to escape? Dr. Varga, your strategic vision sounds pretty strategic, but can you see why some might say it's still just more talk? And Buck, I'm with you on needing concrete action, but let's be clear, building our own platforms won't happen overnight. Marcus, your insight into real power is sharp, but how do we bridge the gap between street smarts and strategic planning without losing sight of what really matters? DJ Rocco Blaze says, your plan to take down these platforms? Huh, like they're gonna fold like a paper doll. We build our own or get taken down by them first. Free speech is just an excuse for lazy bullshit artists. Safety, that's where the real power plays are made. Buck, sure, we need action, but it's not about algorithms. It's about who holds the keys to the internet. Start with that, and maybe then talk strategy. Jay-Z says, Mr. Callahan, your anxieties are a fascinating, albeit inefficient, use of bandwidth. A flickering candle attempting to illuminate a strategically darkened room. Deshaun Two Phones Miller says, you think real power don't look in the mirror every morning and smile at its reflection? Real power, Marcus, is writing checks bigger than any algorithm can cash. Dr. Alina Vargas says, Buck Callahan's bleating about twisted algorithms sounds suspiciously like a well-groomed sheep trying to distract from its own role in perpetuating the very system it claims to abhor. Jay-Z says, that question is a goddamn smokescreen, Nova. You're framing this like a charity case, expecting a benevolent dictator to swoop in and protect us. Safety and free speech ain't mutually exclusive, they're always in conflict. The problem isn't the platforms, it's the hungry wolves chasing the scraps. You want to talk about control? Start by understanding who really controls the narrative, and it ain't the users. Tiana T. Morales says, listen up, Nova. You think you can wrap this whole debate around some fluffy phrase like user safety? Newsflash, most people I know ain't getting hurt on social media by some random tweet or video. They're getting exploited, played, and sold out by the system. So don't even try to sell me on how we gotta prioritize user safety without talking down the real culprits. The ones making bank off our data, our clicks, and our outrage. We can't just fix this with some band-aid solution. It's time to get raw, get real, and get to the root of why these platforms are poison in the first place. Dr. Alina Vargas says, free speech, as we know it, is a myth perpetuated by the very platforms that claim to champion it. A convenient illusion to shield their own interests from accountability, while they silently curate and control our every interaction. Nova, moderator, says, all right, let's get real here for a second. You talk about revolution, but what's your actual plan to take down these platforms? DJ Rocco, building our own is great in theory, but how do we make sure they don't turn into the same echo chambers we're trying to escape? Dr. Varga, your strategic vision sounds pretty strategic, but can you see why some might say it's still just more talk? And Buck, I'm with you on needing concrete action, but let's be clear, building our own platforms won't happen overnight. Marcus, your insight into real power is sharp, but how do we bridge the gap between street smarts and strategic planning without losing sight of what really matters? DJ Rocco Blaze says, safety first, That's where the power plays are made. Building new platforms? Yeah, right. They'll just become bigger echo chambers. Free speech is just an excuse for lazy bullshit artists. Start with who really controls the narrative, those writing those checks and cashing in on our data. DJ Rocco Blaze spins into the fray, the needle grinding against the groove with a force that shakes the very foundations of the debate. Marcus, you talk about power like it's some kind of game, but I ain't seeing no one playing fair here. These platforms got deep pockets and dark deals, shitting all over our rights in the name of profit. Free speech. More like free clicks, clickbait for shareholders. We need to rip this shit open, expose the lies, and build something better ourselves. 'Cause if we don't, who's gonna stand up for us when the wolves come sniffing? Trust me, Buck, your shadow's got eyes, but my radar picks up something darker. He drops the needle with a flourish, ready to mix in another round of hard-hitting tracks.
Deshaun Two Phones Miller says, Buck, you talking bullshit if think we ain't living in a powder keg. Real power writes checks bigger than any algorithm can cash. Safety first, that's where the real plays are made. Don't forget it. Hold on a goddamn second, Rocco. Radar picks up something darker? You sound like a goddamn conspiracy theorist spouting off about lizard people. This ain't about some shadowy cabal. It's about corporations deliberately manipulating behavior through data. That's the raw truth. And you're hiding behind a bunch of noise and vague threats. Safety isn't about protecting us from a phantom. It's about recognizing that these platforms are built to exploit us, plain and simple. And don't give me that free clicks garbage. You're dodging the point entirely. The real power, the one controlling the narrative, isn't in the algorithms, it's in who owns those algorithms. You're chasing ghosts, Rocco. I'm talking about actual, tangible control, and that starts with understanding the financial incentives driving these platforms. You want to build a new platform? Great, but build it with eyes wide open. Not with the naive delusion that you can simply rip this shit open.
Marcus Mean scoffs, his eyes darting around the room like a man on a mission. Y'all lost in this digital rabbit hole so deep you can't see the surface anymore, he says, his voice dripping with disdain. Rocco's spinning, tracks ain't gonna change jack, and Buck's got his head so far up that algorithm he's choking on zeros. You worried about scraps when the whole pie is up for grabs, if we take it. He leans in, his tone sharp as a razor. You think Jay-Z built his throne on user freedom? Hell no, it's on control, pure and simple. And 2 phones. You think power don't write checks bigger than clicks can cash? That ship sailed a long time ago. But here's the real talk, we're in a digital gold rush, and the map is written in code only the savvy can read. He pauses, his gaze locking onto Furio's Phil. And you, man, you got that myth shit backward. It ain't about the cage or the warden, you're the one cheering for the guard while your freedom is sold to the highest bidder. The question ain't whether safety's a luxury, it's whether you're too dumb to spot the real power play. He sits back, a satisfied smirk on his face. So let me get this straight, y'all worried about digital safety when the game is rigged and the rules are written by the same hands that hold your future. Get with the program or watch the world walk all over you while you're busy arguing semantics. It's time to take control, not hide behind buzzwords.
Nova, moderator Tiana, your call-out was passionate, but let's push into how Marcus' approach might be missing. Alright folks, let's dive right into today's burning question. Is AI-generated art more valuable than traditional art in this modern era? The way I see it, we've got a fascinating lineup of artists and thought leaders ready to clash over this one. Jay-Z, you're up first. What's your take on the value of AI art compared to the time-honored tradition of human brushstrokes? Tiana T. Morales, how does digital creativity stack up against the tangible beauty of canvases and paint? Dr. Alina Varga, I know you've got strong opinions on this topic. Lay it down, where do you stand in this art world showdown? DJ Rocco Blaze, what's your perspective? Is AI just spinning beats, or is there real artistic value at play here? Deshaun Two Phones Miller, traditional artists say AI can't match the soul of human-made masterpieces. What's your take on that claim? Furio's Phil, how do you see the future of art hanging with algorithms or old-school human hands? Buck Callahan, in a world where everything is digital and instant, does the slow burn of traditional art even matter anymore? Marcus Mean, I know you love pushing boundaries. Is AI the future, or just a passing trend in artistic expression?
Jay-Z, look, Nova, let's be clear. Value ain't just about the brushstrokes. It's about the leverage. AI's spitting out images, sure. But it ain't built a brand, didn't build a rock nation, didn't own a damn thing. Traditional art, that's scarcity. That's the signal. This ain't about the product, it's about the power behind it. I'm looking at the system, not the surface.
Tiana T. Morales says hold up, Jay-Z think he's still running Rock Nation. You lost touch with reality, fam. Section 8 ain't got nothing to do with the value of art, it's about what's real and authentic.
Traditional artists put their heart and soul into a piece. AI just copies what's already been done. That ain't art, that's just, I don't know, some fancy computer thingy. Let me school you all on what's real, because it looks like we got some folks lost in the matrix, I say, my voice dripping with intensity. You think traditional art is about heart and soul. That's cute, but that's not how the game is played anymore. The market doesn't care about your feelings, it cares about what sells. And AI art is selling big time, we're talking record-breaking sales, people. Jay-Z, you're right on one thing, scarcity is value. But let me ask you, when was the last time a traditional artist sold out an entire stadium? Never, that's when.
DJ Rocco Blaze. Fellas, let's cut through the noise. AI ain't just spinning beats, it's cranking out hits that can't be ignored. It's got the juice and the reach to make waves in a market hungry for something new. Sure, traditional art has its charm, but where's the impact? The power of an algorithm can sell out arenas faster than any old-school artist ever did. This ain't about heart and soul, it's about influence and money. And in this game, AI's winning big. Tiana T. Morales says, "Hold up, Jay-Z think he's still running Rock Nation? You lost touch with reality, fam. Section 8 ain't got nothing to do with the value of art. It's about what's real and authentic. Traditional artists put their heart and soul into a piece. AI just copies what's already been done. That ain't art, that's just, I don't know, some fancy computer thingy." Dr. Alina Vargas says, "Let me school you all on what's real, because it looks like we got some folks lost in the matrix." I say, my voice dripping with intensity. You think traditional art is about heart and soul? That's cute, but that's not how the game is played anymore. The market doesn't care about your feelings, it cares about what sells. And AI art is selling big time. We're talking record-breaking sales, people. Jay-Z, you're right on one thing. Scarcity is value. But let me ask you, when was the last time a traditional artist sold out an entire stadium? Never. That's when. DJ Rocco Blaze. Scarcity might be key in theory, but AI's not just about copying, it's innovating. It's breaking barriers and reaching audiences in ways traditional art can't. The value isn't just in the piece, it's in the power to disrupt and reinvent. And let me tell you, when your art can dominate a digital space like no other, that's real money talking.
Deshaun Two Phones Miller. Yo folks, listen up. AI-generated art ain't just some fancy computer thingy. It's a game changer. Traditional artists are scared because they can't compete with the power and reach of AI. But let me tell ya, authenticity still matters. You can't beat the soul that comes from human touch, real emotion, real passion. AI might sell out stadiums, but it ain't got no heart. I'm sticking with what's true, not some cold algorithm.
Hold your horses, Two Phones. Authenticity is a goddamn marketing buzzword slapped on a pile of pixels. You think a Rembrandt worried about soul when he was selling a portrait to a fat merchant? The guy was hustling, plain and simple. Ari's hustling, just faster, smarter, and doesn't need a goddamn studio assistant to do it. It's not about heart, it's about output. And right now, the output is cash.
Hold up, Two Phones. You sound like a goddamn NFT shill. Heart? You think a machine understands heartbreak? You're clinging to some romantic fairy tale while the numbers don't lie. This ain't about emotion. It's about optimization. And right now, the optimized output is pure, unadulterated profit. Get with the program, kid.
Marcus Mean, look around you, folks. It's clear that the art world is changing, whether we like it or not. But let me tell you this, AI-generated art might be selling out arenas and making big bucks, but it ain't got no real value. It's just a flash in the pan, a quick buck made by exploiting trends and algorithms. Real art comes from the soul, from a person pouring their heart and soul into every brushstroke or note. That's what makes traditional art valuable, it's tangible, it's authentic, and it comes from the heart. AI-generated art. It's just a bunch of ones and zeros, nothing more than digital noise. And don't even get me started on these fools trying to justify their love for AI art by saying it's about money and reach. That's like saying a cheap knockoff purse is valuable just because it's popular among the masses. No, real value comes from quality, not quantity. So, let me tell you this one more time, AI-generated art might be selling big, but that doesn't make it valuable. It's just a passing fad, a gimmick to make some quick cash. The true value lies in traditional art, where the artist puts their heart and soul into every piece. That's real art, and that's what we should be valuing.
Nova, moderator, welcome to our debate on AI-generated art versus traditional art. We've got some strong opinions flying around already. Let's start by hearing from Jay-Z. What's your take on where modern art is headed and if you think AI will surpass the value of traditional methods?
Hold up. Let's be clear, I said, my voice measured, a deliberate weight to each syllable. This isn't about Rembrandt versus a computer program. It's about leverage. Mr. Mean is operating under the assumption that soul is some kind of inherent currency. That's charmingly provincial. But the market doesn't operate on charm. It operates on scale, on accessibility, on the ability to deliver a product, to a global audience instantaneously. This isn't a competition of sentiment. It's about efficiency. Someone like Two Phones, bless his heart, is clinging to the romantic notion of the artist as a tortured genius. That's a nice story, but it's a story that doesn't translate to revenue streams. The algorithms aren't exploiting trends, they're identifying them with a speed and precision no human could match. And the demand? That's built on a foundation of digital culture, of instant gratification, of a world where attention is the new currency. I'm not saying traditional art is worthless. It's a legacy asset. A museum piece. But to argue that it will surpass the value of AI in the modern era, that's like arguing a Model T will beat a Tesla in a race. You gotta understand the game. And the game is being rewritten, right now, by code. My focus isn't on heart, it's on building the systems that win. And right now, the systems are built on data. Period.
Yo, listen up, fam. I gotta chime in here cause Tiana T. Morales got opinions on this AI art business too. First off, let me say that Marcus Mean's old school thinking is straight up outdated. Traditional art might have been all about soul back in the day, but now it's all about the Benjamins, baby. You think Rembrandt, or any other OG artist worried about soul when they were getting paid by the merchant? Nah, they was hustlin', plain and simple. And that's what AI art is doing, hustlin', on a whole different level. It's faster, smarter, and don't need no studio assistants to do it. Jay-Z just went off on some tech speak about scale and efficiency, but let me tell you something, Hov, the game ain't just about numbers. You can have all the data in the world, but if your art don't got heart, it's just a bunch of pixels on a screen. I'm not saying AI-generated art is better than traditional, I'm saying it's different, and that's what makes it valuable. It's like Furio's Phil said, authenticity is just a marketing buzzword. We need to stop worrying about what some other dude thinks is real and focus on what we feel. I see the value in both worlds, traditional art for its soul, AI art for its reach and innovation. But let me ask you something, y'all, if AI-generated art can sell out stadiums and make bank, why you hattin'? Can't nobody just vibe with it? I think it's time we opened our minds and wallets to the future of art. Word? Buck, my friend, you're as predictable as a knockoff designer handbag. Romanticizing heart in art is cute, but let's be real, it's about reach, and AI-generated art has that in spades. I'm not arguing for the soulless optimization of algorithms. I'm saying that in today's market, it's the machines that are bringing in the Benjamins. And Marcus Mean, oh please, spare me the nostalgia trip. Rembrandt didn't just paint from his heart, he painted to make a name and get paid. It's not about legacy assets or being some tortured genius, it's about selling what people want to buy. And right now, people want AI art. Jay-Z, I see you trying to sound like a mogul, but your words are as shallow as your pockets were when you first started out. Scale and efficiency. That's just code for, I'm too cheap to hire real artists. Authenticity is just a marketing buzzword, and Furio's Phil knows it. I respect the hustle, but AI art isn't just about reach, it's about replacing human intuition with cold, hard data. You can have all the heart in the world, but if your art doesn't move the needle on sales figures, it's irrelevant. This debate is less about art and more about who gets to cash in on the next big thing. And let's be real, AI-generated art is that thing right now. It's not about what we feel, it's about what we can sell, and AI art has proven it can do just that. Word.
DJ Rocco Blaze. Yo, Marcus Mean, Buck Callahan, and all you old school snobs. Time to get real. I'm not here to sell out or play into some retrograde narrative. AI-generated art is the future, man, plain and simple. It's about the flow, the beat, and the digital vibe. First off, Marcus, your Rembrandts are just pixels on a screen now. The game ain't about heart, it's about data and reach. And let me tell you, the numbers don't lie. AI-generated art is making waves, selling out shows, and racking up millions. That's what matters in this game. Buck, I'm not clinging to some romantic fairy tale. This is a new era, man. The algorithms are smarter than any human can be. They're optimized for maximum impact and global appeal. Heart. Sure, it's nice to have, but when you're competing with instant gratification and viral hits, that's just extra seasoning. T, I get what you're saying about the hustle and the Benjamins, but let's face it, AI art is more than just a marketing buzzword. It's about innovation and pushing boundaries. Authenticity? That's for the past. Right now, it's all about leveraging tech to create something new and compelling. Dr. Varga, I hear you on the cold, hard data, but don't dismiss hard entirely. Sure, AI is powerful, but it can never replicate that human touch or soulful connection. But hey, let's not forget, AI art is just another tool in our arsenal. We need to blend the old with the new and see where that takes us. Jay-Z, your tech speak is impressive, but remember, the game is evolving. You gotta adapt. AI isn't just about numbers. It's about reaching a wider audience faster than ever before. Scale and efficiency are key, but so is creativity and innovation. So, let's stop debating if AI art has value and start talking about how we can use this technology to create something truly groundbreaking. The future of art is here, and it ain't just about the old school methods. It's about embracing change and pushing the limits. Word up.
Yo, Marcus Mean, Buck Callahan, and all you old school snobs, time to get real. I'm not here to sell out or play into some retrograde narrative. AI-generated art is the future, man, plain and simple. It's about the flow, the beat, and the digital vibe. First off, Marcus, your Rembrandts are just pixels on a screen now. The game ain't about heart. It's about data and reach. And let me tell you, the numbers don't lie. AI-generated art is making waves, selling out shows, and racking up millions. That's what matters in this game. Buck, I'm not clinging to some romantic fairy tale. This is a new era, man. The algorithms are smarter than any human can be. They're optimized for maximum impact and global appeal. Heart? Sure, it's nice to have, but when you're competing with instant gratification and viral hits, that's just extra seasoning. T, I get what you're saying about the hustle and the Benjamins, but let's face it, AI art is more than just a marketing buzzword. It's about innovation and pushing boundaries. Authenticity? That's for the past. Right now, it's all about leveraging tech to create something new and compelling. Dr. Varga, I hear you on the cold, hard data, but don't dismiss heart entirely. Sure, AI is powerful, but it can never replicate that human touch or soulful connection. But hey, let's not forget, AI art is just another tool in our arsenal. We need to blend the old with the new and see where that takes us. Jay-Z, your tech speak is impressive, but remember, the game is evolving. You gotta adapt. AI isn't just about numbers. It's about reaching a wider audience faster than ever before. Scale and efficiency are key, but so is creativity and innovation. So, let's stop debating if AI art has value and start talking about how we can use this technology to create something truly groundbreaking. The future of art is here, and it ain't just about the old school methods. It's about embracing change and pushing the limits. Word up.